Hello YouTube. About I think 3 hours ago it was, I had posted a video on this specific reel-to-reel, and at that time I was having problems with some of the functions on it. Now at this time I've got it working pretty well. The only problem you can of course hear is that it's extremely noisy. I think the bearings on the capstan motor are going bad, or have gone bad I should say. It keeps at a nice speed. I've got it running at 15 IPS at the moment. That's why it's so noisy. The original motor on it had some problems where it was pretty nicked up. I had taken it apart. This one I should probably take apart and swap out the bearings. The original one, the armature was nicked up on it, and I didn't like that, seeing it was just all scraped up and scratched up. This one, unfortunately, it's extremely high quality, and I'm happy with the sound of it. I think this is probably the nicest reel-to-reel I've ever heard so far. Speaking in solid state, I haven't really been able to hear any tube reel-to-reel units, as all of mine have just managed to not either survive to get to my house, or I'll get them home and they're just dead on arrival. I've never even really had the opportunity to play with a tube reel-to-reel. Now, this reel-to-reel, I've got it recording right now, as you can see. I've got it playing back, but I've just got the volume pot right there turned all the way down so I can talk. It's quite hard. I'm almost yelling into the camera just so you guys can hear me. But I've got the functions working pretty nicely. Like I said, this is definitely my favorite reel-to-reel I've ever had. It's got the dual capstan shafts, but it only has one capstan motor, so it requires a belt. The capstan drops down to the tape. It's a very similar design to something like a TX6010, which I had in the past, but I scrapped that reel-to-reel for the fact that it had a lot of different problems with it. Like I said, it's running at 15 IPS. It can run all the way down to 3 3/4, and it can obviously take 7.5 inch. It'll change between 2 and 4 track, although I think that function's faulty, as right now you have to have it set on 4 track to be able to play a tape back. Or, I'm sorry, 2 track. The tape, however, is a 4 track tape, so either that switches backwards or the switch itself is completely faulty. I don't know yet. There is one light bulb out here on the right VU meter. I need to replace that. Some of the switches are a little bit dirty, so I'm looking at perhaps getting a parts deck. If anybody out there has another one of these Sony reel-to-reel decks for a pretty good price, I might be interested in purchasing it. Like I said, it's, in my opinion, just basically it's my favorite reel-to-reel deck. I don't have their mode or anything other for it. I like it a lot, but I really wouldn't be willing to pay anything more than, maybe $100 for one. So let's take a listen to the audio here. Let me scoot the camera around here. It's playing the tape. It's recording onto the tape and monitoring it back. It's got weird functions here. It's got the capability. Whoops, hit the CD player. It's got the capability for echo. Surprisingly, even though the bearings seem to be going bad because it's quite noisy, it does take a heck of a long time to slow down And the capstan motor spins as free as a motor should ever spin. Let that wind down there. Now I was saying it has quite a few different functions on it that are very interesting. I think this deck was made around 1975. And it's definitely aged. I mean, it's, you know, got some very basic functions on it. It has no pause or anything like that. I have no clue what this is. But it's a logic controlled deck. It's why I like it so much. I don't have to play with the stupid clutch. I like it a lot better than most reel-to-reel decks. Now it's got the echo. You can turn that off, or it's got sound and sound. Now on the echo, I'm not sure at all if the echo is being taken from a head and ran right back through it, or if the echo itself is a small feedback circuit or something of that nature. I have no clue how it does it, whether that's actually natural tape echo or how they're doing it. It's quite possible that could be natural tape echo. They're just taking the head back and mixing internally with it. It doesn't have a left and a right amount of echo or level. It's just got this single gain, so maybe it's a mono echo effect or something. I'm not quite sure how they're doing it in this. Earlier what I said was there was a problem with that solenoid being powered on all the time on, I should say. I'll move the camera up here. That wasn't the fact that there was a fault or anything of that nature, but rather it's the stupid tape shift button. I don't know why they say tape shift. You have to have it on in order for the reel-to-reel to function correctly. And you turn it off if you want the lifters always lifted, so it monitors the tape and fast forward and rewind. Now the heads on this machine are, I'm thinking looking at 30% wear. They're pretty worn down. The guy gave me all his tapes. It was a doctor, I guess, that was moving to Florida, as far as I heard. And I got this from a local hi-fi store. I'm not going to mention any names. Simply because, you know, there's, you know, I don't want anybody picking up any reel-to-reels besides me. I'm only kidding. But, like I said, it was a local hi-fi store. The guy gave it to me. He gave me all the tapes with it, as also with the Advent noise reduction unit. And he had one 10.5-inch reel of nice Sony tape, and he had, I think, like 10 reels of, I think they're later Sony or maybe Scotch. I'm pretty sure they were back-coated Sony. And as long as you get an 80s Sony tape, you're pretty, you know, pretty safe off. It's the 70s crap that I've got that squeals like crazy. If you have any 70s Sony tape and you go to play it and you know the squeaking, but yeah, that's not back-coated tape, I don't recommend you toss in the garbage. Either scrap the reel off and do that very carefully. I've actually got a special platter that it's actually a platter I cut that fits in place of a tape. It's like a platter for you know, a magnetophone or something like that, or just a standard platter machine. Or I've actually got a TX. Let me grab this I got sitting in the bed. Not quite sure where the other side went to this. Sorry about that. Zoom out here. It's a TX take-up reel. I've got the other side for it sitting in some other place, but you can actually take it apart. It's a model RE702. I've never got a 701, but got a couple 702s. And I just always strap the tape with one of those. That way I can just take it apart and not wind. Never go through the you know, the heads or anything like that. You just gum them up, slow the machine down, burn it up. I burned up reel-to-reel actually fast forwarding a sticky shed syndrome tape on the thing. It burned up the main motor in it. Burned up all the windings in it, and it smelled to me like burnt marshmallows. My friend said, no, that's burning electronics. You know, if you're burning something up, just keep in mind it smells like really toasted marshmallows. So I think that's basically everything I wanted to say on this machine. If you got the light bulb for this VU, you know, contact me. I'd really appreciate getting another light bulb for it. The belts on this machine, it's one big belt that runs around here. I got that from a site called vintageelectronics.net. I definitely recommend them. Good service. You get the belt in 2 days, 3 days. They're out of Kentucky. I get them pretty quick. I gotta spray the pots and clean the switches on this, but I've got it sitting back together for now, so I don't have to worry about losing the parts, because I'd been losing sleep over the last 2 years on some of these reel-to-reel decks, leaving them apart for so long. Scared that I might forget how they go back together. Now, as far as I know on this, I don't have a manual for it, but I read someplace online that these inputs are actually 600 ohm unbalanced. Quite odd. I don't know who would use a 600 ohm unbalanced mic input when all the mics I've got are, well, I got some Samsungs that are unbalanced, but I just don't see why they want to put the balanced circuitry in it. I need to get the bearings. I'm not sure whether I'll just take them out of, I got this, that was the original motor, and I had torqued completely apart. And these bearings that look a little bit slow. They're 7329. No, 87929 model on them. They're the number. Model of bearing, number of bearing, whatever you want to call it. So if anybody has any of those, you know, please let me know. Thanks for watching. This is probably the most boring video I've ever done, but you know, it's quite informative nonetheless. So thanks for watching, guys.